lots of tricks. I'm going to talk to you about a lot of different tricks and a lot of different things. How many of you guys feel like you're an organized person, or do you feel like you're not an organized person? Who feels like they're organized? That they're generally organized, and it's just hard. Have things just gotten kind of certain areas that are a little bit tougher to keep organized? A lot of times it's also hard when you have other people that you live with or work with that are not organized. And you have to, like, I've had to train my children and my husband, train them. Luckily my husband's pretty organized. You have to train people. If you want to be organized and somebody you're working with or living with isn't organized, it's really hard to stay organized. So you do have to train people, and you have to get people on board. But you also have to do it in a loving, kind manner. I've also had clients come up to me, you have to come organize my mother. It's awful, it's terrible. And I'm like, that's not the way it works. Unless the person wants to get organized, I can't like force them to get organized. And then other people think. I had one client, it was a woman, and she wanted me to come get her husband organized. And of course he was like, she's gonna make me get rid of all my stuff. And so he didn't want me to come because he thought I was just gonna say, back up his wife and say, get rid of this and this and this and this and this. Of course I didn't do that, but you know, there are concerns about getting other people organized and getting people on board. Okay, here you go, sir. Welcome. Glad to have you.
Right up about people organized because I actually have a friend that has a sister. I cannot really do anything in her house. Like,
yeah.
We actually had to get 30 bags of trash.
Yeah. So you did that, and how did she respond to that?
Well, she never saw the in place until she got back right in my home. Me and her for her park. Trash stuff all over the place.
Was she happy about it or not? No. Yeah.
That's all I did was almost like a fire hazard.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be unhealthy. Yeah. I'm sure you guys have seen the show Hoarders. I haven't had clients that level. My husband does real estate investing. He said he came up on a house that was hoarder level, and he's like, I don't even want you to go in there. I was like, that's okay. I'm all right with that. So is that my bell?
That's your bell.
Okay, welcome everyone. Glad you are here. As people tell me how these. So my name is Tammy Small, and I am a professional organizer, and I have been for over 15 years. I lose track. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me in the back okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've been doing this for over 15 years, but let me give you a little personal information because I refer to my personal life a little bit as we talk. So I'm married, and I've been married for 23 years, and I have 4 children. My oldest is 20, my youngest is 6, so I have a bit of a spread. But I tell you that because I want to tell you, I want to back up, that I know how to train children how to be organized. Not that all of my children are perfectly organized, but there are some methods that you can do to teach children and teach other people how to be organized. So when I got my first house years ago, 15, maybe 17 years ago, I found this book called Confessions of an Organized Homemaker. Has anybody ever heard of that book or seen that book? Okay, it's an older book, but I read this book and I felt like I found my calling in life. Like, this is the best stuff ever. It's kind of like we were talking about before. I've always been drawn to organization, and so I read this book and I just went, this is the best. So if you ever get a chance to read that book, I wish I had a copy I could give to everybody, but I don't get paid that well. So, Confessions of an Organized Homemaker. This is where I got the basic principles that I teach. But since I read that book, I have read almost anything I can come across, articles in magazines, watch those TV shows where they organize, read books on organization. And what I've learned is there's lots of different variations, but they're the basic same principles that I learned 17 years ago when I read that first book, and that's what I'm going to teach you tonight. So it's not this earth-shattering thing, and like we were talking about beforehand, you don't have to be a super organized person to do these things, to be organized. And you don't have to be born organized to organize and to be an organized person. So we're going to talk about these things. I'm going to teach you what I learned, but a great thing about organization is it's actually quite personal. So you kind of you get to adjust it to fit you and your life and your style and your needs. Okay, so what I want to do first of all, actually I'm going to get a little closer. I would love for you to just tell me why you're here. Tell me what is stressing you out? What you want to get organized? What is bothering you? What are your issues as far as getting organized? Why you decided to come tonight? We talked about a few of them, but if you've already said it earlier, let's say them again because other people might have the same things. So just tell me and I'll write them down. You don't have to raise your hand. What issues? What did you say? You said papers. Papers? Okay. And we're talking office papers or just house papers? Okay. Good. Yep. Yep, exactly. Good. Okay, what else? What other issues do we have? What do you want to learn about tonight? What do you want help with tonight? Say again? Clothes, anything in the house, the whole house. Okay. Okay, give me specifics. So clothes. Okay, clothes.
Kids stuff.
So toys,
Yeah.
kids things, okay. All right, what else?
Stuff you think you might use one day.
Do I need it someday? I haven't used it in 5 years, but I might need it. Okay, what else? Books, okay, good. Good place to talk about books in the library. I love libraries. Free books, they don't have to stay in your house, you get to give them back. And these guys keep them organized for you. Okay, what else? In the back.
I have like 10 notebooks, and I'll keep them to write things down on. And
Okay.
I may, when I start using them, I don't want to tear off the page because I'll lose the page.
Right.
And yeah, I need a
So
notebook
are they,
to write
is it
things on.
information, is it journaling, is it information that you think you might need?
Any kind of information.
Okay. All right, notebooks,
Journals, magazines, articles.
information, okay. Sorry.
Inherited furniture.
Okay, so what you said inherited furniture. So let's expand that a little bit to inherited anything. Anything that's been given to you that you feel like you should keep, okay. Inherited. I'm gonna just do like paper media. Sorry, my handwriting is not good, but you hear what I'm saying. Go ahead.
Jewelry on top of your dresser.
Okay. Good.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? What else? Oh, your time, yeah. Okay. What else?
I don't know what to call this, but I lost a Christmas present in the shuffle, and I can't find it. So I thought I better come.
Okay, because you lose things.
Well,
Lose.
usually, but maybe it's a new pattern on it.
I don't know that I can find it for you tonight, but, okay, how many of you guys lose things? You can't find them, you go buy another one, okay? Or it just stresses you out and you waste a lot of time looking for it, you can't find it, okay? What else? What other issues?
Where to start?
Okay, how do I start? Good. Good question, good topic. All right, what else? Surely there's more issues. This is a big group. No other issues? Yes.
Along with the inherited things, not just like furniture, but like if your parents or loved ones have passed,
Right.
maybe you've given some things away, but then you don't want to throw stuff away. It's like what, because you want to honor the memory.
Right.
So what do you do with things that, yeah, so.
They're sentimental, but you don't necessarily want to keep them.
Sentimental, yeah.
Okay, we'll put that with that. Okay, anything else? Yes.
Electronic.
Data. Okay. All right.
What do you do with someone who likes to keep a lot of stuff and you don't really, and the other person doesn't really like stuff?
Others. Dealing with others. Okay, good. Yeah, these are all really good issues. These are very common issues. Anything else we want to write on here? Okay. All right. Like I said earlier, I gave you a worksheet And I'm going to encourage you to fill it out. If you would like a full-size pen, I do have pens up here. Instead of the little nubby pencils, if you want a pen, I do have a pen. Does anybody want a pen? Okay. So, I encourage you to take notes. Yes?
You can have the worksheets, because all I have are 2 library and that's.
Oh, sorry. It should say something that says how to organize your life. Somebody pass one back to her or forward to her. I still have plenty. Okay, so it should say how to organize your life on there, and by Tammy Small, and then I would encourage you highly to take notes. And the reason I didn't fill it in for you is because I want you to take the notes that you want to take, the things that are important to you that come up. Okay, so this is good. This is good. And what I want to do is I want to address these things, but what I'm going to tell you is a lot of these things we apply the same concept to, okay? So the concept I'm going to teach you tonight, you apply to pretty much any area of organizing that you need to. Physical, time, papers, your house, your office. I have organized anything you can possibly imagine. From closets and cupboards to garages, 3-car garages, to offices, to storerooms in offices, to my children's schools. I've gone in and helped them get organized in their art rooms. Those kinds of things. Anything you can possibly imagine. And I've used the same concepts I'm going to teach you tonight. Same principles. Ladies, come on up. There's 2 seats right here. There's seats in the front row. Welcome. So there's seats right there. There's a handout on the chair. And then if you need a pen, I have pens. Did you need a pen?
No, I actually picked one of the forms that,
The handout? Yeah, go ahead and grab one of those. Okay, so I'm gonna talk to you about the things that I have learned, and this is how I do it. And again, it's personalized to you. So take the things that you feel like fit you and add to it whatever you have already experienced and what you know. That's what I do. I kind of keep adding my, knowledge throughout the years, but it's basically these same principles. Okay, so first of all, when you're starting a space or something that you want to get organized. So I like to use the example of a kitchen. So let's talk about a kitchen. I want you to think about the function. The function of a kitchen, the function of space. So right now we're going to talk a little bit more about physical spaces than abstract spaces like time and things, but the same concepts will apply. So when you think about a kitchen, you tell me, what is the function of your kitchen? What do you do in your kitchen? You cook, okay? So there's cooking. Let's divide that into, there's cooking. How many people bake? Does anybody bake? So there's baking, there's cooking, there's, I don't know, does anybody do canning anymore? I don't know if anybody does that anymore. Okay. Okay, so there's different aspects of cooking. But yeah, you cook in your kitchen. What else do you do in your kitchen? What are the functions of your kitchen?
Wash dishes.
You wash dishes. Okay, so you need to wash the dishes, you need to put the dishes away. Good. What other functions of the kitchen?
Serve meals.
Serve meals, okay? So you eat in your kitchen. Some people have, the open dining room kitchen, so we're eating, we're cooking, we're doing dishes. What else? What else happens in your kitchen? Maybe does anybody do homework? Any pay bills? Anybody pay bills in their kitchen? Does kids do homework, or college students, or anybody do homework in the kitchen? What else? Anything else you guys can think of that you do in the kitchen?
you
Read the
store your,
newspaper.
Read the newspaper, okay? So you sit and read, relax. What else?
you store your food and
Good,
your
yeah, you
dishes.
need to have a place to store your food, as well as your dishes. Good. What else? Anything else you do in your kitchen?
Clean,
What?
clean.
Clean, yeah. Clean, good. Clean
Socialize.
supplies, clean.
Oh, sorry, just like one thing.
Okay, are we back in business? Can you hear me? Okay. Anything else? Any other functions of the kitchen?
Entertain.
Entertain. People
And I
gather.
serve my guests, it seems they like the kitchen. best.
Yes, yes. Yeah, whenever we're at my in-laws' house, we stand around in the kitchen, even though there's plenty of comfortable chairs. Okay, good. Anything else that you can think of? Okay, so what we just did right there, that's what you need to do with your space. What is the function? What do I want the function to be? Not what the function is maybe right now, but what do I want the function of this space to be? Okay? So, as we talk, anything that doesn't fit in that function doesn't go in there. I had one client who, her husband had took a whole cupboard for his tools. His dirty, nasty tools. Tools are great, I love tools, but they have a place and it's not in the kitchen. It's okay to have a couple hand tools like a screwdriver and a hammer, but he had his dirty outdoor tools in the kitchen. And I had to say to him, that is not the function of the kitchen. We're gonna find a different place for your tools. Okay? So think about the space. Maybe think about a space that you're struggling with, and think about, is there stuff in that space that shouldn't be there because it doesn't fit the function of the space? And sometimes we need to redefine the function of the space. So maybe we have a child's bedroom, and the child has everything in there, and maybe we don't want to have all the toys in the house in the bedroom. Maybe we want to put them in a playroom or a family room or something else. So sometimes the problem is we need to redefine spaces. I encourage people to, in their bedrooms, have a peaceful place. Maybe not have exercise equipment in there, or your office equipment in there if you're working from home, because that's not as relaxing, and it doesn't provide, maybe you want the function of the space to be a relaxing getaway from your work and your life and your stress, and every time you see the exercise machine, you feel guilty for not being on it, okay? So think about what you want the function of the space to be, and if it needs to be redefined. So that's what we're gonna start with, is what's the function of the space. Then what we're gonna do, on your handout, I'm gonna go a little out of order. So then what you wanna do is you wanna think about the centers or the stations of the space. So for instance, think about a kindergarten classroom. Most people have been in a kindergarten classroom at some point. What kind of centers or stations would you find in a kindergarten classroom? Anybody a teacher? Anybody been a teacher? What kind of centers do you find or stations? So you might have a reading circle. There might be, what might be in that reading circle? There's going to be books and maybe a chair, maybe a carpet, maybe some pillows. Okay, what else? What other stations or centers would you find in a kindergarten classroom?
Craft area.
What?
Craft?
Good. A place to put their coats and their shoes and their backpacks. Good. What else? What else? Crafts. Good. So they have a center for crafts. What other centers or stations would you find in a kindergarten classroom? You would have desks and chairs, tables and chairs for the kids to work at. Maybe even a play area. They do still let the kids play nowadays in kindergarten. My daughter just had indoor kindergarten and the girls all fought over the kitchen. So there's an issue there, I'm sure. Okay, so you think about that. So now I want you to think, sometimes go back to the kitchen. Let's go back to the kitchen. So we have the function of the kitchen. And a lot of times we are raised and we're taught that food goes in a certain area and dishes go in a certain area. And these things, certain things go in a certain area. But how would it be if you were baking and instead of going over here for your dishes and over here for your flour and over here for your utensils, it were all right in the same area? You open the drawer and you have all your utensils. You open the cupboard and you have your flour and your sugar, and you've got your mixing bowls. How amazing would that be to have a baking center? I imagine restaurants and things probably are very efficient, and they have things where it makes sense. So we need to think outside the box a little bit tonight and say, okay, what do I want in my center? What do I want in this station, my baking station? Or what do I want in my dishwashing station? What do I want in my cooking station, or where I'm going to store my food? So the food doesn't always have to just go with the food. So let's talk about that. I love using the kitchen for an example because there's so many options here. Okay, so what are some stations or centers that you would put in your kitchen? I mentioned a baking station. So like I said, mixing bowls, flour. Does that sound like uncomfortable to some of you guys? To put your food and your dishes in the same place? Is that a little uncomfortable? I like to make people uncomfortable. I like to get people to think outside the box and be a little out of the norm. Because we get kind of stuck. Well, this thing says I'm supposed to use it for this, so I can only use it for this. And I'm here to tell you you don't have to use it only for that, or do only that. So give yourself a baking station. Give yourself a baking center, and put those things all together so you're not running all over the kitchen doing that. What other centers or stations might you have in a kitchen? We talked about the functions. Your functions are going to connect with your stations, okay? So what other stations might you have based on our function of the kitchen?
Food prep.
Food prep. What are you going to have in your food prep station?
Cutting board.
Good. Cutting board. Dang it. Sorry. I gotta stand somewhere else. So cutting board, knives. What else in your food prep station?
The sink, wash.
Yeah, good. Sink, washing. Okay, good. So what other stations or centers might you have in a kitchen?
Dishwashing.
Dishwashing. So what do you want to have near the dishwasher? You have the dishwasher, the sink. What do you want to have near that? Do you want to run all the way across the kitchen to put your dishes away? So you're going to have your dishes that you're putting away, taking out of the dishwasher, near your dishwasher, okay? So if you just kind of think, what will make my life easier, what will be simple, what makes the most sense, I'm going to have these things together. What about when you're cooking at the stove? What would you like to have around you while you're cooking at the stove? Spices, good. What else?
Hot pads.
What?
Hot pads.
Yeah, hot pads, exactly. Good. What else? Yeah, your pans. So imagine standing at the stove and your spices are here and your oils are here and your pans are down here and you don't have to go anywhere. You just stand there and do all your cooking. You might have to go to the refrigerator and get food, but that's the concept. That's the idea, is putting those things together, putting them in the place that makes the most sense, that functions the best for you, that saves you time, saves you energy, and is the most convenient and makes the most sense. Okay, any other ideas or questions or thoughts on that, what we're saying? The stations, the centers, the function. Does it make sense? Do you have any other questions or thoughts or comments? Okay, so go ahead, what?
About a pantry, we have everything.
Yeah.
Pantry closet. My husband has tools in the pantry closet.
Yeah.
We have wedding gifts that we never use.
Right.
Pantry closet.
Right. Yeah, and so that's what you have to decide. What do we want the function of the pantry to be? And even in the pantry, you can set up your stations. So when you go to a grocery store, you have all the pastas together, and then right next to the pasta is the pasta sauce. And like for instance, I have these bins where I don't sit there and say, okay, the fruit goes here and the chips go here. I put all of my kids' lunch snacks in these bins. So when we go to fill the lunch boxes, okay, grab from the bins. We aren't running all over the kitchen. We have them all in one space. Your pasta, you can have your centers or your stations in your pantry or in your linen closet, okay? There are multiple ways to do it, but one idea is, okay, put all your shampoos and hair products here. Put your first aid products here. Put your towels here. Put your sheets here. So those are your centers or your stations in a closet. In a pantry, you could have, okay, here's my appliances that don't fit in my cupboards. Here's my food. Here's my soups and my my canned items. These are my grains and my pastas. Or this is breakfast. This is lunch. This is dinner. Okay, does that make sense? So make it make sense for you, so it's easy for you and it's convenient for you. Okay, any other comments or questions on that? Yeah.
There's a lot of heat in the kitchen, and sometimes if you leave the trash can near the heat, it starts to a lot of odor quite quickly.
Right.
So,
Are you asking about where to put the trash can?
well, I'm just making the point that there's, you also want certain foods to stay cool too.
Right, right.
So-
And they do say, if you put your spices right next to your oven, then they might go bad faster, because if they're like right next to it, but you can put them up higher, maybe not directly over the oven, or, at the top, that some people, they have the spice racks that sit in the back of the oven. Maybe those aren't the best places, but, if there's a piece of wood, like lots of times there's something between the oven and your pull-out spices or something like that. Yes?
I just an idea, I was at somebody's house recently and their oven stove is here.
Mhm.
And they had these pillars that were actually pull-out
Yeah.
shelves that had spices on both sides. But
Right.
it looked like, it was like built in such
Right.
a way that it looked like it was the housing for the drawers where the pans were.
Right.
It was actually like a pull-out thing about this wide that
Yeah.
had the spices.
I love stuff like that. Yeah, it's hidden, it's handy, it's convenient. So yeah, some things, like you said in the back, some things you can't, you have to put certain things in the refrigerator. You have to put certain things in certain spaces. So we don't want to break those kinds of rules. But we do want to kind of think, well, where would this go most conveniently? Do I really need this here? And if it's not functioning for you, move it around. And if you move it around and it still doesn't function for you, move it around again. Some of these things are not that hard to move around. You might not be able to totally remodel your kitchen, but you can move your stuff that's in the cupboards around to different places. So thank you. Any other concepts, thoughts, or ideas about this before we move on? Okay, does everybody understand? I mean, does it make sense? It's not like new life-changing information, but it really will help you as you start to think about it. Because I know a lot of my clients feel very overwhelmed. Like, I don't know how to start. I don't know what to think about. How do I even approach this? And so if you just kind of say, well, what do I want the function of this space to be? And what kind of stations do I want? and how am I gonna set it up, and maybe we move things around a little bit. Okay, let's go down to these 5 categories, okay, that I know you're dying to fill out. Okay, so what I do is when I approach a space, and I'm gonna just take, say you're gonna go into a room, you're gonna walk in a room, the door is open, and I had a client one time, she had an extra bedroom, and we walked in and it was just full up to about here of stuff, and she just says, I don't even know where to start. Just pick a spot. I just usually walk in the door and I pick the spot right here, wherever the door opens, and I just start, okay? And this is what you do when you start. You're gonna touch every item. I have friends who have junk drawers, and she's like, do I really have to go through everything? Yes, you have to go through everything. Every little crayon, every pencil, every piece of garbage, you have to touch everything, okay? Unless you know this whole drawer is garbage, you can just throw it out. But you need to be prepared to touch everything. So what I do is I start and I pick up every item and I make a decision about every item, or I have my client make a decision about every item. So every item is going to go into one of 5 categories, okay? Now, keeping your function in mind, and we'll talk about how to get rid of things in just a second, but I'm going to tell you the 5 categories first. So the first category is things that are in keeping and they stay in this space. I've decided the function, they fit the function, they're staying here, they're in good shape, I'm going to use them, all that good stuff. They are keepers, they stay here, okay? The second category is, okay, I'm going to keep it, but it doesn't fit the function of the space anymore, so it's going to go somewhere else, okay? So now what you do before you even start is you get bins or boxes or bags, and you have them identified. You can label them if you want to help you, or you can just identify them and say, okay, this is this bag, or this is this box or bin. So what you're going to do is you're going to put every item in one of these 5 categories, whether it's in the box or it stays in the room. If you find something that goes in a different space, are you going to run it over to that space right then and there? No, you are not. Why? Why aren't we going to do that?
Distracted.
Because you get distracted. You go to the other room and you're like, oh, I have to clean this up. Okay? Plus, it wastes a ton of time. Okay? You don't need to make that decision right then and there. You're not going to go put it there. You're going to put it in the bin, the handy bin that you have right sitting right here that goes to a different room. Okay? So that's your second category. First one is keep and stays here. Second one is keep but goes into a different space. All right. Third category is, and I know this one's hard, donate, give away, sell, that kind of thing. So it's in decent condition. It's not garbage. But I'm going to give it away, or I'm going to sell it. Now, this is the rule with this. If you are not going to immediately donate it, and you sit there and say, well, I'm going to sell it on Craigslist, or I'm going to have a yard sale, I'm going to make some money, you have to actually do it, okay? You have to, and this is what I tell people, I say, put it on your kitchen counter where it's really inconvenient, and it reminds you every day that you have to sell it, or get rid of it, and then you will actually do it. Don't tuck it away in a closet. Someday I'll get rid of this. But you have to be real with yourself and be honest with yourself. Am I actually going to list this? Am I actually going to have a yard sale? Am I actually going to do it? And if you can't say that you can, I highly encourage you to donate it immediately. There are so many good places to donate, and there are so many people that will use your things so that they're having another life rather than sitting in your house, cluttering your house. Okay? So be honest with yourself. And I will say to my clients, will you really do it? And then I will give them a deadline. And you have to do it by this day, or you have to have this, whatever. Okay? So be honest with yourself, or get a friend to do it with you, and then then they'll make you accountable. Okay, so third category is giveaway, sell, donate, whatever it is. And I don't know what you guys have around here, but near me there's a Goodwill, and I just I load my car as soon as I'm done with a client. I have this free service. I just say, I will take it in my car right now, and I stop at Goodwill on my way home. So they don't even have to worry about getting rid of it, things like that, okay?
I have a question on that
Yes.
one. What happens if you have like 3 vacuum cleaners brand new that you don't even want to use?
Do you want to make money and sell it, or do you want to give it away?
Yeah, it's because if I do, I have a friend that actually has a sister that has 3 brand new vacuum cleaners, and she doesn't even use them.
Okay.
Do you think that she should do a yard sale on them?
Well, if she has enough to do a yard sale and she's actually going to do it, then that's fine. I sell a lot of things for clients on Craigslist. So I will just take pictures and list them on Craigslist. Donating them is also great. If you find a good place to donate them to, some places like vacuum cleaners, you could go find a vacuum store and they might give you credit for them. So things like that, my daughter actually works at a sewing and vacuum store, and they take trade-ins. It won't be the equal value, but you could get some credit toward it at the store. So there's lots of different ways to get rid of things, even make money off of things. If you know somebody that might need it, give it to them. If you're done with your baby stuff and it's just sitting around, sentimental value or whatever, give it to somebody who's just had a baby. These are great things that people can benefit from your stuff, and then you will also benefit because it's not cluttering up your life. Okay, let's review the first three categories. What's the first one? Keep, but stays in the place. Second one is keep, but different space. Third one is donate, sell, right, or give away. Thank you. Okay, the fourth category. Wait, is that four? We're on four. Okay. Okay. So this one obviously is garbage. You need to have a garbage bag. So another category is garbage. It's just obviously trash. You can't fix it. You can't sell it. Nobody's going to want it. Just throw it away. Okay. So you need to have I can't tell you that's my biggest category is garbage. So have plenty of garbage bags handy and don't be afraid to fill them up and get rid of. Yes.
But what if you don't want to fill the landfill and you're conscious of,
Yeah, I also do, I encourage the recycling where I can recycle. I love Mother Nature, but in this category, in this situation, I feel like there is a more urgent issue. Like I encourage people to recycle things that they can recycle, but I also encourage people to declutter their homes. So if you can donate it, if you can give it away, if you have something that you can give it to, that's great and that's wonderful. But if you don't really have anything and it's just going to sit at your house and sit at your house and sit at your house and stress you out and give you more things to do, I really highly encourage you to get rid of it, however you can, however you need to, whatever you feel comfortable with. Okay? And then the last category is I'm not sure what I want to do with this. Okay? And the reason I give you this category is because we want to make decisions quickly. We don't want to labor over every item for 5 minutes, otherwise it will take forever. So you get a category that says, I'm not really sure if I want to get rid of this, I'm not sure if I want to keep it, I'm not sure if my neighbor's going to want it. If my neighbor wants it, I'll give it to her, but if she doesn't want it, I'll donate it. So you get kind of an undecided category. Or I'm kind of attached to this, but I'm going to see if I have 5 more in this room that I can find, and maybe I'll decide which 4 to keep or 2 to keep instead of all 5 of them. Okay? So put it in the bin for an undecided. And I gotta be honest with you, this is actually usually the smallest bin. Hardly anything goes in there, but it's nice to have it because then you can cruise through your stuff. Now, I'm gonna warn you a couple things. When you start, you're gonna make a bigger mess than you started with. Number 2, it's gonna start out a little slow and it's gonna be a little sluggish, but it will pick up, I promise, okay? So whenever I work with a client, it's usually pretty laborious in the beginning. What do you want to do with this? What do you want to do with this? How about this? Do you need this? Do you want to keep this? And then after a while, it's just, okay, get rid of, do here, do here. You really get into the groove and you really pick it up. Okay, so any questions on the 5 categories? Any questions or concerns on the 5 categories? They make sense?
How long would you say it would take if you were working with someone to go through a room?
It depends on the room. So for instance, offices with lots of papers take a very long time. Pictures, papers, files, they take a lot longer. You think, oh, a 3-car garage would take forever because it's huge and it's full. Actually, those go really fast. I did a 3-car garage. The family could only fit 1 car in the garage at the time. We had it cleaned out in 3 hours. It was me, the husband, and the wife. 3 hours. But the reason it was so fast is because the items were so big. It's like, okay, what do we do with this bicycle rather than what do we do with 500 pieces of paper, okay? So it just really depends. Kitchens take a little bit of time, just to let you know, and paper takes time. But like toys, clothes, they don't take as much time, unless you have tons and tons of them. But the bigger the items, the less time it usually takes. And I usually try to have a little muscle near me if I have big items to move, so that we don't sit there and go, oh, we can't move it. That's what the husband was for. You move the big stuff. Go ahead.
Just a quick question. We walked in just a few minutes late, but you can be hired out
Oh, yeah. I'm a professional organizer, and I'll touch on that at the very end. Okay, yes. She's all undone, ready to go. Okay, so yes.
Like, when you're going through this with somebody, do they really, aren't most people having trouble getting rid of these things?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. And when I come to meet with somebody, what I do is I sit down with them, and you guys get the benefit of taking the class. This is what I would tell a client. I would go over all this stuff with them, and I would say, this is what we need to consider. Think about the function. Let's talk about the function. I usually do like a little consultation. Let's talk about the function. What do you want the function of this space to be? And we have a whole conversation. Now, the other issue that I was about to get to, that I'm glad you just moved us into that, is how do you get rid of stuff? Okay, first of all, answer this question. Why do we keep stuff? We've touched on it a little bit, but tell me, why do we keep things, and why is it so hard to get rid of things? So just tell me some of the reasons.
Maybe they use it useful.
You might use it again. You're thinking, I might use this again. I don't want to spend more money buying a new one. Go ahead.
It's a nice one.
It's a nice one. Very good.
Sentimental.
Sentimental. Yes. Very good. Oh, good. What else?
Insecurity.
Takes time. Say
Somebody
again.
made it to you.
Insecurity. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's like, it could be in a not healthy way, it's like this stuff is here, it's like that.
It's like your identity, or
No, no, it's like,
does it bring you comfort to have it around you?
it's like a secure
Okay.
feeling.
Right. Yeah, to have the things, the items.
It's almost like if a burglar came in, you would trip and
So it literally is your security system. Is that what you're saying? Okay, did you have another, what did you say?
Oh, it just takes time from the,
Right.
it's easier just to say, oh, I'll put this here and not
Right.
actually.
Good.
decide.
Yeah, I don't have time and it's inconvenient to put it away. Yeah.
I always find as soon as I get rid of something that I haven't used in 10 years, I need it.
You need it, yeah. And then you don't get rid of things because you're afraid that's going to happen again. Can I just tell you something about that? In the 17 years I've been doing this, I've only regretted getting rid of 2 things. One of them I can't even remember. The second one is my husband's, he was a scout leader, and I got rid of his scout shirt. Because I thought, oh, he's done. He's done doing the scout thing. And then, of course, a couple years later, he was doing it again. I was like, and those are not cheap. I was like, not the scouting shirt. So that's the only thing that I remember getting rid of that I regretted. But that is a big concern. That is a big concern. What if I need it again? Okay, what other issues?
It's difficult for someone like me who will finish a project and feel good about it, but don't clean up.
Oh, yeah.
Something else.
Good, there is hope. There's always hope. We can get all kinds organized. Yes, what else? What other reasons?
Well, I don't know, what about textbooks that you've had for your major, what do you do with?
What did she say?
Textbooks that you had for a major. Exactly. My husband did engineering, and he hung on to his books for years and years and years. And in engineering, I don't know if anybody's done engineering, but they become obsolete the next semester. And I finally said to him, honey, and his notes, his handwritten notes, because you work so hard on them, you want to keep them. And I thought, honey, are you really going to use these? But he hung on to them for years, and I didn't say anything. I was like, okay, when you're ready. Okay, any other reasons we hang on to things or it's hard to get rid of things? Yes? Yes? Yeah, you might really like it, and maybe you don't want to get rid of it. Yeah, did you have
I
another?
was gonna say, there's stress if you have stuff and you don't know what to do with it.
Mhm.
You're going back and forth, should I touch it, should I not touch it? And then there's stress about you not touching it, so you're
Yeah.
kind of just, like, you kind of block stuff out and you kind of don't look at it,
Yeah,
just to try to like have your own little space where you can relax.
close the
But there's like a
door.
lot of stress, like on
Yes.
both sides.
And that is exactly what we were talking about in the beginning. Why are you here? And that is exactly why I organize, because I do not like the stress of the chaos. Think about the price you pay for keeping those things. Think about the price you pay, the stress, the time, the energy. If you can't find something, you're buying it 5 times because you can't find it. So you're really spending more money than you would if you were organized. I helped a woman with a kitchen. She said to me, I have to move, my kitchen is too small. So we went through, and she had multiples of everything, and we kept, you know, if you have 5 sets of measuring cups, do you need all 5? Let's just keep 2. And by the time we got done, we had empty drawers and empty shelves. I said, you don't need a new house. You just needed to get rid of a few things. Okay? So saves you money, saves you time, saves you stress. So let's talk about getting rid of things. First of all, I'm going to give you a blanket permission to get rid of things. I give you permission. I release you from the guilt. Okay, if I had a magic wand, that's what I would do. I had a client who got a steamer, this nice vegetable steamer from her mother-in-law for her wedding, and she had it on her shelf. She never used it once. Didn't like it. She had another steamer. Didn't. Why do you keep it? Well, my mother-in-law gave it to me.
It's nice.
Is she going to check every time she comes over? Probably not. I give you permission to get rid of it. I release you from the guilt. I release you from the obligation of keeping that. Okay, so I really do say that to my clients a lot of times, and I'm saying it to you. I know it doesn't magically make it not feel guilty, but again, think of the price you're paying to keep that. That was a whole shelf in her cupboard. I had another client who, she's the one who wanted me to organize her husband, but we got her organized first. She was a grandmother. Her grandchildren were past the age of infants and toddlers, and she still had all of her own children's cribs, car seats, strollers. Now, if you know anything about babies, those things are probably not up to code. But she just could not let them go. So they're taking up almost half of a room in her house. And I talked to her about it. I said, why are you keeping this? Well, the memories. And I said, well, you can keep the memories without keeping the items. I said, why don't you take pictures of the items and let them go? Don't give them to your neighbors because they're not up to code, but, you know, let them go. So these reasons are real, and we are really attached to things, but remember the things, and they don't take away the memories to get rid of the things. So I encourage you to let go of the guilt and say, I'm not going to feel guilty about this because the price I'm paying to hang on to this is very heavy, and it's stressing me out, and it's causing me anxiety, and it's cluttering my house or cluttering my life, and I don't want it anymore, I don't need it anymore. So think about that when you're going through things. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but it will get easier as you do more, okay? I had a client who, like I said at the beginning, parents died and all the stuff came into her house, and I just recently went through and helped her get rid of things. And she was actually really good about saying, you know, I'm never going to use this, I'm never going to use it. And I did sell some of the stuff on Craigslist for her so that it kind of lessens the pain. But think about the use of that item. Somebody else can be using it. Somebody else will love it. Somebody else will cherish it. One man's trash is another man's treasure. It's so true. With my kids' clothes, I have two teenage, well, a 20-year-old and a 17-year-old, and I have a 9-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl. And my 2 kids, I have these friends that we all swap clothes. I have somebody who gives me clothes for my son. I have somebody I give his clothes to. I have somebody who gives me clothes for my daughter, and I have clothes that I give her clothes to somebody. So we have this system where we just all pass things on. My 6-year-old daughter started kindergarten this year. I didn't even have to buy anything for her. Plus, the lady that gives me the clothes is really cute clothes, so I'm very excited about that. So those kinds of things. Those ease the burden. I don't have to hold on to those clothes, and I don't have to feel guilty about it because I know somebody else is using it. Even when I go donate to Goodwill, somebody is going to like it. Somebody's going to want it. Okay? Does that help at all? Does that help a little bit to say, okay, I can let it go, and to think about the personal feelings of stress and anxiety that you're feeling because you're keeping this and you're living in chaos and clutter. Okay? What other thoughts do you guys have on that? Any other concerns or thoughts on that? Yeah.
It's tough to give away something that has value,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Are you talking about sentimental value or actual value, monetary?
Actual value.
Right, it is.
Yeah.
And you don't have to. Like I said, there are ways to make money. There's consignment stores.
I don't want that to stop me. I need to get rid of it.
Yeah. So that's what you have to decide. You know, do I really want the money? Am I actually going to take it to a consignment store? Am I actually going to find a place that's going to take it? And I have had some clients that say, I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm not going to give it away. I want to make money off of this. And that's fine. We find a consignment store or we sell it on Craigslist. And that's fine if you want to make the money.
Can I tell you what I did this evening? Right before I came here, I started trying to organize my room upstairs,
Right,
and I realized that I needed more coat hangers.
right,
So I went out to the dollar store, picked up some more coat hangers, and by the time I got back to the house, I had 2 more bags of stuff.
where am I gonna put this stuff?
Yeah.
And that brings up a rule of thumb, if something comes in, something's gotta go out. So every time Christmas comes around, or one of my kids' birthdays, I say, okay, kids, let's go through your toys, stuff is coming in, so stuff has gotta go out. And I've been doing this since day one, so they're used to it. You know, when my girls were little, I had 2 girls, Barbies everywhere. Okay, we're gonna pare down the Barbies from 15 to 10, which are your, and I don't sit there and say, choose 5 you have to get rid of. I say, choose your favorite 5. You each get to choose your favorite 5. So they choose their favorite 5, and the rest of them go. Or I say, hey, we're gonna give these to kids that don't have any toys. Which ones do you wanna give to kids that don't have any toys? So think about that. If stuff's coming in, something's gotta go out. I just bought myself a pair of black heels the other day, and I immediately turned around and threw away my other heels that were, you know, in nasty shape, okay? So you gotta discipline yourself, but that's the rule. You gotta live by. Go ahead.
That's the issue I have, clothes.
Clothes?
I take care of my clothes, it's not like I use them,
Right,
so I don't have nasty black heels.
Right.
I probably have 4 or 5 pair of
Mhm.
black heels, but I no longer wear
right.
because I'm not working.
So what keeps you hanging on to them? What keeps you hanging on to them?
They're good black heels,
Mhm.
and I might.
Would a consignment store like want them? Would somebody, you know, those are the kinds of things you have to
As
ask.
soon as I pick them up,
I know. And then you have an excuse to shop. Yay. I'm not against shopping. I love shopping. So yeah, you do have to consider those things and weigh those things. And maybe if that's keeping you from shopping, then that's fine. I'm not saying get rid of everything, but have a place for everything. I have a friend who has a very large home, and she feels like, okay, I gotta get rid of stuff, I gotta get rid of stuff. And I said to her, you don't have to get rid of things. Let's get it organized. And if you feel like it fits and it's comfortable and it's not stressing you out, it's okay to keep this stuff. So it's not like you have to get rid of it, but if it's stressing you out, either get rid of it or get it organized. You know, if you do have too many clothes, first of all, go through and get rid of. But then the second option is to rotate your clothes seasonally. If you feel like, oh, they don't fit in my closet, things like that, then you can put your fall, winter clothes, your spring, summer clothes, you can rotate them if they don't fit. I'm not saying go home and get rid of everything. If you are super attached to something, I even have sentimental things. My husband has like 3 or 4 bins of sentimental memory. I call them memory bins. And I'm not against that. I don't sit there and say, oh, it's just a memory, it has no value, because those things do have value. Sentimental value is real. But have a place for it. If you have a collection of something, instead of having it in boxes that are stressing you out or cluttering your space, find a nice place to display your collection. And maybe pare down your collection. I had a client who said to me, my husband collects knives, like I guess fancy hunting knives, I guess they have handles that are cool or something. And she hated it. And I said, why don't you just say to him, I would love to put your knives on the collection. Put them on this shelf. Let's have a nice collection of where we can display your knives, or get them a nice little case so that it's not dangerous. But also you can discuss, hey, how about when this case is full, your collection is done. You know, this is the maximum amount of knives you can get, so if you get a new one of them has to go. So does that make sense? There are ways to have the things you want, there are ways to keep your sentimental things, but I encourage you highly to make sure there's a place for them, and make sure that they are organized or they're functional and they're doing what you want it to do. I'm not here to say go get rid of all your stuff. I'm here to say make your space as peaceful and comfortable for you as it possibly can be. Because it really is about your comfort and your peace and living in your space. And if that means get rid of stuff, then get rid of stuff. If it means just get your stuff organized, then that's fine too. Okay, yes?
I was gonna say, sometimes it helps also to have a friend come over, like,
Yeah.
you know, it's easy for us to decide for somebody else, but it's hard for us to decide for ourselves.
Right. Right. And honestly, that is the big benefit of me. When I go to help people, because I'm not attached to any of it. I'm happy to get rid of any of it, but I can also help them, ask them questions. Why are you keeping it? How important is it to you? Is the cost of keeping it higher than the cost of getting rid of it? Those kinds of things. So yes, I highly recommend, that's one of the things I usually say at the end is, get a friend to come with you and get you organized, and then you go organize him or her, you know, trade and help and do it together. They can keep you on task, they can help you ask those hard questions, and encourage you. Do you really need to keep it? It's okay to let it go. I give you permission. Okay? Any other thoughts or issues on that? Did we talk about it enough, or are you guys still kind of needing more? Like, do you feel good about that? Okay, you feel like you can get rid of things. You mentioned books. I know books are a big thing too. A few things with books and media, textbooks, things like that. I am not a techie person, I'm not a computer person, but I love the concept of having so much information online that I don't have to store those things anymore. Textbooks, I'm pretty sure you can find everything online. Or you can get a nice cheap used textbook online if you really need to go get one, okay? If you went to try and sell it back to the college, they probably would say, we can't even use this. So think about those kinds of things. Is it worth taking up the space? Am I ever going to look in this book again, or am I going to go to the internet to find the information? Okay? Your personal notes, if you want to keep them, that's fine, but do you need to keep them? Or you want to keep them, that's fine, get them organized. Find a place for them and make sure that they're organized. Okay? So books, I used to have a little issue with buying children's books. I love children's books, and I would buy them at every sale, every time they were available. And then I sat there with these shelves and shelves of books, and I kept them organized, I kept them on the shelves. But I sat there going, the library is free, and I can give them back. You know, how long, you know, kids read the books, or we read books. Even me personally, I don't buy that many books for myself. Because you read it, how many times do you actually read a book? Some books I read multiple times, but very rarely. And then you can just go to the library and get it again. And no, the library did not ask me to say this. But I promise you that it is such a stress reliever for me. And for you too. Other people love your books. You can sell books and make money off your books. You can donate your books. But if you're cluttered with books, I have another a friend, not a client, because the gentleman wants me to come get him organized, but he's not ready, so I'm waiting. But he came to me and he said, I have all these books. He's just a historian and he loves knowledge and information, but he's not ready to get rid of his books. So my solution would be, okay, get more bookshelves, get them organized, get them off the floor, so that your wife isn't tripping over them and your kids. But think about the benefit of passing those things on. Somebody else can read it, somebody else can use it. The library, if you donate to the library, I don't know the rules about donating to libraries, but maybe they can put it in circulation. I donated a bunch of my kids' books to our school library, and they put them in circulation that I was done with, or my kids were done with. Okay? So there are lots of solutions, and there are a lot of great things you can do with your stuff and pass it on to somebody else. And it's again another issue of, am I ready to let this go? Am I there yet? Am I okay with this? Okay. Any other issues or questions on that? Okay, we're gonna move to the next, we're gonna move to some of the details, some of the specifics that you guys brought up, okay? We're gonna address some of your specific things. Now, some of these things we have already addressed. So you've got clothes and kids and toys. So let's just take stuff, and we talked about this already, but I'm going to just go in a little more detail on some of these issues. So that and this isn't an all-encompassing class, this is just a beginner that says this is how you get started, this is what you do, and you can take this information and go home and be successful. I've had lots of clients call me back later and say, I took your class and I did this and this and this, and it's so great, it's wonderful. So that's what the purpose of this is. This is not to cover every single thing in every detail, because that would take hours and hours and hours. So a couple of things, let's just talk about. Did we cover, do I need it? Or do we need to cover that more? Does anybody have any more questions on that? Do I need to keep it? Why am I keeping it? Permission to get rid of it. We talked about books. How do I get started? Did we cover that sufficiently? Okay, the how to get started. We talked about a little bit with grab a friend. What I would highly recommend is give yourself some time. If you're gonna do a room, you're gonna need a couple 3 hours, depending on the room. Or you can do it in sections if it's not a room that you're living in. So if you're gonna make a mess in this room and you can close the door, then that's fine, you can do it in sections. But if it's a space like a kitchen, you don't wanna leave it halfway done and then try and have everybody eat in there, okay? So what I would recommend is setting aside some time, whether it's 2 hours, 1 hour, 3 hours, where you're unplugged. No phone calls, no emails, you're not having any appointments, you don't have to rush off to an appointment, don't try and squeeze it in. You're not going to appointments, you don't have distractions. If you're a mother, I've recommended to people, you need to get a babysitter for your child because it's just too distracting. If you're gonna pay me to come over and help you get organized, I want your full undivided attention. And you owe it to yourself to give yourself the full undivided attention. Okay? So get rid of your distractions and really devote yourself to it. It is much easier if you have a friend or someone to do it with you. Okay? I gotta be honest with you, it's quite a personal thing. I've been helping one of my friends, she's having me pretty much do her whole house. She's lived in it for 20 years, she's had 6 kids, she's got a lot of stuff. And it's a clean home. It doesn't look cluttered and organized, but she is starting to really feel the stress of having the accumulation of 20 years of stuff in this house and all these kids. So we've been going all summer long, we go maybe once a week and we do a different space and we work on different things. And I'm really getting to know her really well. And I thought I knew her really well, she's one of my closest friends, but I'm really getting to know her well because of the conversations we have and the things that, the pictures that we see or the memories that she brings up. So it's actually a neat thing. Sometimes people are really embarrassed, like I don't want you to come see my messy house, or I don't want you to see my clutter, I'm too embarrassed. But for me personally, there's no judgment, because I totally understand how hard it is sometimes to be organized and let go of things. But for me, it's actually kind of a neat experience, especially for people I don't know very well, because I really get to know them. And if you do this with a friend, you're really going to get to know them. But I think you should reciprocate so that they can get to know you too. So it's real. Those are the things I would recommend with getting started. Give yourself the time, discipline yourself, and say, I'm going to do this for the next hour. I'm going to do this for the next 15 minutes. Even if it's just a drawer, I'm going to do this drawer for the next 15 minutes. I'm not going to stop until this drawer is organized. And then to do it with a friend if you don't feel like you can stay on task or go get through it. And then just keep kind of inching away at it, just kind of chipping away at the clutter, chipping away at it, and just make yourself do it. And then when you actually sit down and do it, make sure you're prepared. Make sure you have your boxes or your bins or your bags, so you're not running off and saying, oh, I have to go get this and I have to go get this. Start the project with all those things in hand, and then you can just start. Like I said, you walk into the space and you feel overwhelmed and don't know where to start. Just start with one side of the room and work your way around the room. That's all I do. Start one side of the closet, start at the top of the closet, work your way down. Pantry, start on one side and work your way around, and just pick up everything, touch everything. Decide what are those 5 categories on everything. Does that make sense? Any other questions or concerns about getting started? And once you do it the first time, it's a lot easier, I promise. And like I said, it'll be a little slow and sluggish in the beginning, and you will make a bigger mess, but it goes faster and faster and faster as you do it. I have these clients just flying through their stuff after about an hour. They're just kind of okay, do this goes here, this goes here, this goes here, and I'm like, okay, this is great. Okay? So I promise you, hang in there. If it's a little tough in the beginning, it'll get better. And then as you do it, most clients, after the first space, they're like, oh, that was wonderful. I feel so much better, because it is such a relief. It is such a weight off your shoulders. And even if the whole house isn't done, you just feel like, okay, I know that this will work. I know that this will feel better. Okay? So, how to get started. Papers. Let's talk about papers, and I also like to put photos kind of in this category. So, papers and photos, well, I guess in the olden days when we used actual pictures, they had to be organized physically. But nowadays, a lot of people do digital. So raise your hand if you still do pictures physically, like physical pictures, you get them printed out. And raise your hand if you're just mostly digital. Okay, I had a hard time switching over. I was a big scrapbooker for many years. And I love the scrapbooks, I love the craft, I love the art of scrapbooking. And digital cameras came out, and I was like, I'm not doing digital until I can't tell the difference between a real photo, a photo and a digital. And so finally I switched over to digital, and I also switched over to digital scrapbooking or photo books. So there's different ways to keep those things organized, same with the papers. But what I would do is, first of all, you have to go through this process that we've talked about today. So if you've got a ton of papers, you got a pile of papers, you gotta go through it, you gotta deal with it. You gotta touch every paper and say, is this garbage, is this keep, is this file, what do I need to do with this? And a lot of things you can really just recycle, you can just get rid of. Most papers, most of the mail that comes in, the junk mail, you really can just get rid of it. I stand there, I walk in, if I've gotten my mail and I'm in the garage, because I have to drive to my mailbox, I'm standing there and I'll stand at my recycle bin in my garage and just, before it even comes in my house, and I'll just throw it in the recycle bin. And so, but mail, I would deal with every single day. If you get mail every day, I would deal with it every single day. Give yourself a couple minutes every day and just deal with it so it doesn't pile up. And you have to make decisions, but after you've made the decisions for a while, it's a lot easier to make the decisions. You know what's junk mail, and there are things, I don't know them right now, but I know there are lists you can get on to stop having the junk mail come and things like that, so if you want to cut down on that. But deal with the bills. So what I do, let's talk about the incoming stuff. So I've got kids' papers coming in every day. Our school talks about being a paperless school, and I've never seen so many papers in my life. I'm like, you send me emails and you send me the papers. So I've got papers coming in and I've got a high schooler and I've got 2 elementary kids. And then I've got my own mail, and I've got my husband's mail. You've got the junk mail, you've got the real mail, bills, blah, blah, blah. So every day I deal with it. Every day I make decisions. And what I have, and like I said, this is the part that's very personal, what works for you. So what I have is, and everything, keep in mind, has to be easy. It has to be simple, it has to be easy, otherwise it's not going to get done, okay? So I have something really simple. On a shelf in my kitchen, which is the hub of life, I just have some shelves. I have a shelf for each person in my family, including myself. So everything that comes in, and then I have a magnet board. So this is my system. I bring it in, I go through it, recycle, goes immediately in the recycle bin. And, because I have a recycle bin in my house, and then I also have one in the garage, so either way, it goes in the recycle bin. And then the stuff that I keep, I immediately open, I immediately recycle the envelopes if I don't need them, because that's just an extra piece of paper that you don't need lingering around. And then my bills, I stick in a place for my bills to be paid. And I pay online, so I'm not physically paying the bills, but it's my little reminder to pay that bill and how much it is. So I put it in a place to be paid. If it's a to-do action, like say it's an invitation to a birthday party or a flyer for something at the school, I put it on the magnet board where I can see it all the time, okay? And then until I put it on the calendar, if I put it on the calendar, then I can throw away the piece of paper if it's on the calendar and all the information's there. So then I can get rid of the piece of paper. But right then and there that day, I just put it on the magnet board so I can see it and I can deal with it. And it's a reminder, deal with this, deal with this, deal with this, take care of this. And then as soon as it's taken care of, it goes in the recycle bin. And then my husband and my kids have their files. So if it has to do with, if it's my husband's mail, I just give it to him. If it's one of my kids, I put it on theirs. The papers that come home from school, my kindergartner comes home with all these worksheets that, bajillions, most of them go in the recycle bin. But I do have a little thing where I display their art. This is the best thing ever. Oh, that's so wonderful, that's so great, I love it. Let's put it on let's display it, and we hang it up for a couple weeks. And then once that's full, recycle bin. And I do ask my children, I say, which are your favorites? Which ones do you want to keep? And if it's a favorite, I will put it in a file. So I have a temporary, let's display your artwork, let's display your picture, let's display this. And then after that gets full, then I put it in their file. They each have a go away file. It's not this shelf that I put things on immediately. It's a file, okay? And then with that file, after the middle of the school year and the end of the school year, we go through the file and we go through it again and we get rid of. And what I do is I let them keep their favorites and I keep it in their little memory box. And the rest of them I take a picture of. It's wonderful, take a picture, and the rest of them go in the recycle bin or the garbage, depending on what it is. Pictures are wonderful things. Ways to keep memories without keeping the stuff. these big oversized volcanoes and things that they come home with, dioramas. Take a picture of them with it. Oh, this is great, this is wonderful. You've displayed it for a few weeks or a couple months even, and then you can get rid of it. And if you start, with me, I've started young with my kids, so they're used to this process. They're not heartbroken when they, although some things I do still have to sneak. But I let them choose their favorites. So it's not the dictatorship where I'm saying, we're getting rid of everything. I let them choose their favorites and they put them in the memory bin, but again, I have a place for it. I have a place for it to go and I have a system. So that's my process of papers coming into my house. What if you already have papers in your house? It's this process we've been talking about. You touch every single piece of paper and you decide which category does it go into. Do I keep it? Do I recycle it? Do I need to do something with it? Does it go into a different space? And then you have to deal with files. You have to actually create a filing system if you don't have one. I personally, some people do it chronological. So if you have bills and things to address, they do it January, February, March, April. I've known people to do that, and if that works for you, that's great. I personally do it by categories. So I have my electric bill, I have my water bill, I have my car, whatever. So I have files for each of my categories. And then I have my handy dandy little short-term files right where my desk is that I use on a regular basis. And then I have my long-term files in a farther away, tucked away, more difficult to reach filing cabinet. Okay? So you can, does that sound, I don't know if that sounds complicated, but you need to have things easy and simple so that when you walk in the door, you've got your mail, you have places immediately to put it. You're not sitting there going, oh, I better file this later. So the reason I have these immediately, put them right here on the shelf immediately, is because then once that shelf gets full of stuff, I take it and then I go and file it. I don't sit there and tell myself, I'm gonna file this today. I'm not gonna file things every day. That's just not gonna happen. So once that little shelf gets full, then I take it and it's maybe once a month or every few months, and then I go and put the things in the files or put them where they need to go or recycle them. I get a recipe that I want to save out of a magazine. I put it in my cookbook. So does that make sense? Any other questions about papers? It does take a while, but you do have to just deal with them one piece of paper at a time. Yeah.
Are the things like with legal and financial stuff, I mean, are the things that don't need to be kept? Like, I mean, like maybe a bank statement you should keep.
Right.
And maybe some receipts.
So what they say is most utility bills and things like that, you don't need to keep them past the year. Very rarely have I ever gone back and needed something. I think one time I needed a utility bill to verify my address. But past a year, you don't need to keep utility bills. Bank statements you need to keep for, the end of the year for the taxes. Taxes, they say, different people say different things for taxes. So some people say 4 years, some people say 7 years. So we just keep our taxes for quite a while. So for anything having to do with taxes, you want to keep those longer. But other things, if it has important information, shred it. Don't just recycle it, but shred it. But most of that stuff, I mean, I don't need to keep my year's worth of utility bills. The only reason I keep them is kind of gauge what I'm spending and how much I'm, maybe on my electric and say, okay, are we going up? Are we going down? Are we, how do I budget? That kind of thing. But tax papers are the important things. And then, like I said, if you want to get rid of anything, make sure if it has your accounts numbers and your social security numbers on it, just make sure and shred them. Does that make sense? Okay, yes.
I want to know where your display is at actually, because mine's not probably where yours is at, which is the refrigerator. And we have like a whiteboard for my daughter to do work for high school, like don't do anything, so it's on a whiteboard to room or whatever. And then the rest of it, I do put papers up there and I highlight it for my behalf or events you want to go to. And then the next thing is my husband has magnets. And it's driving me. So I wanna move that, and it's just good to move it from the refrigerator.
Right.
I have a pantry door, so we put papers on the pantry door, of encouragement, things to go to, but.
Well, nowadays there's so many attractive looking magnet boards, cork boards, whiteboards, there's so many attractive looking ones nowadays. So if you want to, you could get a cute one, put it on the door or put it on the back of the door or however you want to do it and just say, honey, this is for your magnets, this is my stuff, if everybody needs to have one. So I have a friend who has a mud room and she's got a board for each of her kids, one on each cupboard. She's got like I think she made them, like they're like cork boards on each cupboard of the mudroom doors. She's got cabinets in there, and one for each of her kids, and that's where she puts the kids' stuff. So you can say no more on the refrigerator. I want the refrigerator to be cleaned off. Mine is not magnetic, so it's not even an option. And so, plus I like to keep it small and contained. So again, if your husband has a collection and he wants, it's important to him, support him in that and say, I got a magnet board for you. You can put all the magnets you want on this, but this is the only space you get. You don't get to, it doesn't get to spread into all the other things. So those kinds of things are just some things that I have found that work. And make it look nice. There's just so many cute things out there nowadays if you want it to look attractive. Okay, any other questions or concerns with papers? Same thing with photos. Categorize them, whether it's on the computer or whether it's physically, categorize them according to chronological or child or person or event. But find them, I took a photo class and they showed you, I mean, that's a whole nother class, but how to categorize them on the computer in the same manner. These are your categories, or these are your stations, same concept. So for me, I've got the 4 kids, so I have the family pictures in here in this file, and then I have the one for each of my kids, and then they're all under that year. So 2015, there's family pictures, there's one for each of my kids. And I put when I get the pictures downloaded on the computer or whatever, I put them in those files, okay? And then when I go to do a photo book, I just can download them onto the photo book and they're right there. It's very handy. Okay? So, and other memory papers, there's lots of heritage or history or ancestor things. Same thing, make sure they're labeled and put them in the category or the chronological. You get to choose in that way. But make sure they're in photo safe things if you're going to physically store them like that. Okay? Any other questions? I know it's a brief little overview, but any other questions about papers or photos? Okay. Let's see. Okay, did we cover the inherited sentimental stuff sufficiently, or do you guys have more questions about that? Okay, so a lot, yeah.
I was a caregiver for both of my parents, running back and forth to Annapolis to take care of them, and they both passed, like less than 4 months apart. And I had literally like a month and a half to clean their entire 80 years of accumulated things. And so some of it I put in storage, and some of it I have in my house. A lot of it I gave away.
Is the stuff that you're keeping, is it stuff you want to keep, or you're just not sure what to do with it yet?
I've had a lot of other life events in the meantime,
Right.
like broken ribs and surgeries and all.
Right,
different life
yeah.
situations that get in the way of, so it's like how do you, weddings, with my daughters, and just life.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it, like I said, I gave away, but some of it I feel like I'm throwing a part of them away.
Right.
And it's just hard sentimental.
It is.
So I don't know if you have any specific suggestions, or if
Well,
anyone else has any suggestions.
Yes. Well, some of the things is, some of the stuff, I also tell people, if you have a place for it, and if it's in storage and you're just not ready to deal with it, wait until you're ready to deal with it. Wait until you have some calm in your life and you can deal with it and you're not so emotional. I had one client whose husband died and she just couldn't deal with his stuff. And so I would go over and I would help her organize other things in her home because she was worried about that. And then we finally got to the point where she says, I want to pack away his things, but I can't do it myself. I'm gonna leave, will you please do it for me? And so I sat there and I just put it in boxes for her because she wasn't able to do it. And I'm like, that's fine, I can do that. I didn't get rid of anything, I just packed it up for her. But sometimes we just have to wait until we're ready. And sometimes when we're trying to help other people, if somebody's not ready, I can't do anything for them. I cannot force someone to get organized. And there's a lot of emotions involved with things. So I would say give yourself a break, first of all, and let your life calm down. And then when you're ready to deal with it, then deal with it. And then, and when you are, I would grab a friend and say, hey, come do this with me. Or somebody that will be able to help you get through it and do it. Does that answer your question? Does that help at all?
I didn't know if there were any other, like, suggestions.
Yeah, unless somebody else has something that they've done or seen.
Somebody else would come in and say, well, this isn't worth, just
Yeah.
I feel like I'm throwing a part of them away, even though
Right.
they're already gone, I still
Right.
want to honor them.
Yeah, yeah, and there again, options are, take pictures of the items. Can you find a use for the item? Can you, does a school or a library or somebody need the couch? Or can they use it, or a women's shelter? Or something that would be honoring them by putting it to good use. So those are a lot of things too, that people, these things that we have great treasures, and maybe it would be a great honor to put it to, give it a second life, and give it somewhere that is greatly needed. Yes?
This is just going back to the pictures. I was gonna ask it because now I think it's stupid. I'm a very big picture person.
Right.
And now for some reasons, I can't display my pictures right now. So anyway, I have, maybe 6 bins of pictures that are in frames. And I just put them in, because you change your pictures.
Right.
I don't take them out of the frame, I just put them in a bin. So
Right.
I've got like six bins.
And do you plan on displaying those pictures again in the future?
No.
Okay, what I would highly recommend is taking them out of the frames and putting them in a scrapbook. Get a binder, a 3-ring binder with sheet protectors, and put them in there. That's what I do with my kids, because I have the pictures, the yearly photos of the kids, and I have them on display, and then each year when they get the new picture, I just take it down and I have a scrapbook, a physical scrapbook that I still do of those physical pictures. And I just put them in that scrapbook, so then they're all together, and they have their chronological.
A scrapbook to where
It's basically, no. It's basically, it's not really a scrapbook. It's more of it's literally a 3-ring binder
with plastic.
with sheet protectors, and you just slide them in. That's what I would highly recommend. That's what my mother-in-law does. She's got, I don't know, 26 grandkids, and, she just has a little 5x7 album, and we all send 5x7 pictures, and she just sticks the new one in there of the grandkids. So she doesn't scrapbook, she doesn't tape it down, she just slides it in. Very convenient. And then you can get rid of the frames, or you can reuse the frames for something else. But frames are a great thing that people would love to buy at Goodwill. You can donate them, or however you want to do it. Okay, any other thoughts or ideas on photos, papers? Yes, in the back.
Oh, this was back to the other thing with the inherited stuff. I just wondered if you have any nice suggestion of how, if you have a parent who's still alive who feels like she needs to purge everything and give it to you.
I've actually had clients, people come up to me in classes and say, I want to get my mother organized, or she needs to get rid of things. For those of you that are here, do your children a favor and do it while you're here. Get rid of these things while you're here. She wants you to have it, like it's
She
important to
doesn't want
her.
to get rid of it. She wants, she's so
Right.
happy if you give it to me or one of my kids, which I totally understand, but then
Right.
it's just more and more.
Can you have a conversation with her? Do you want me to have a conversation? No. There is that sentimentality. If I'm letting it go, I want my kids to have it. I want my kids to treasure it. Like the whole wedding dress. My daughters have to wear my wedding dress, and that concept that is very important to them, and it's very delicate. It's a very delicate issue. And if you feel like you can have the conversation with your mom, I love it. I think it's great. I have great memories with this. I'd love to take a picture of it. I'd love to, or whatever. Or sometimes we just have to wait until they're ready, or hang on to it until she's ready to let it go, that kind of thing. It is really hard to deal with people's, not hard to deal with, but it's hard to work with people's, when they're sentimental and they're attached to things. You really can't force it. You really cannot say, so either you can say, well, that's fine, let's keep it at your place, or if you have room for it, keep it there for a while. It's a delicate thing, and each situation is different, and it depends on her personality, your personality, and does anybody want the stuff, and nobody in the family wants it?
Well, some of it.
Right. And like I said before, would she be open to, hey, a women's shelter would absolutely love this? Or, these people that we know that don't have a lot of money, like in our school district, they do a lot for people in need. And there's a group that does a lot for the people in need. And constantly they're saying, we need a table and chairs. This family needs this family needs that. We had a family that they had a house fire, and they had to replace everything. So sometimes when people have a hard time letting go of things, if you know it's gonna go to a good cause or a good purpose, it makes it a lot easier. So maybe try and find some things like that to make it a little bit easier. Okay, yes?
For people who have photographs and maybe old family letters and things, one caution is be careful where you store these things,
Right.
and that's where photographing becomes so important. I
Right.
used to work with art objects on paper, like drawings, prints, old photographs
Right,
in a
right.
museum. And sometimes people would come in and say, oh, we have these wonderful photographs, but see, they're stuck together.
Yeah.
Or they've gotten damp.
Or they put them in those old sticky scrapbooks that were just
Or
terrible.
they're in some place where it's just
Yeah.
basically damp, like a basement. So keep that in mind, and it's a really good opportunity to photograph things, because your online stuff isn't gonna get damp or moldy.
Right. Yeah, and there are a lot of, when I used to scrapbook, there are a lot of products that you can store things in that are acid-free, that are photo-safe. So you can buy those kinds of products, but get them out of the things that they're in and get them into these safer things. So thank you, that's good. Any other questions or comments about the paper? Okay, we have about 10 minutes left. Okay, I've been doing this list, but is there something somebody's dying to talk about? Yes?
I see you have jewelry on, and I know you
Oh, yes,
as well.
jewelry.
And I have a lot of jewelry boxes. I have a really big one.
Yeah.
And I just bought a couple more. My question is like, now it's on the floor, and I got the jewelry trees and.
Okay, the first thing is to use these concepts to purge.
I'm not
Okay.
throwing anything away.
Okay, but just maybe, just go through it all. I would encourage you, first of all, to just go through it all and make sure. And then what you're doing is exactly right. If you have a place for it and you can find it and it's on display or it's easy to reach, then by all means get 500 jewelry boxes and display your jewelry. There's not, as long as you have room for it, it's not taking over the house, or, you know what I mean? If you have room for it, but keep it organized and keep it so that you will actually put it away. It can't be some complicated open 5 drawers to hang up your necklace. It needs to be simple and easy and quick. Otherwise, it's not going to get put away. So as long as you're following those rules, by all means, keep your jewelry.
But I have a tree, and
Okay.
a jewelry tree with the earring, and I have one that you can pull out and has different sections.
So is it not working for you?
know, but I have them like, where I have them put them here, like I said, it's on the floor right now. I can get rid of the ones I can't use, like swap them and give them to people. But I have a dresser as well, and my husband has his stuff on his side, and I'm taking the rest of the side with the jewelry boxes and the perfumes. And
Well, you know what, and that's where you might start thinking, okay, this is where I want to use this. Okay, everybody just kind of shout out, what would you use this for in your life?
Kitchen.
What, kitchen what?
Kitchen spoons and everything.
So utensils? Okay, what else? What would you use it for in your life? What would you put in it? Art supplies, that's what I thought you'd say. What else? What would you put in it? Art supplies? What would you put in it?
School supplies.
School supplies, okay. This is sold as a silverware tray, but you can put whatever you want to in it. So for instance, this is why I think of your jewelry. If it is not working for you, you think outside the box. They sell these jewelry boxes for jewelry, but maybe you need something different. Maybe you need a wall for your jewelry. So go find a piece of plywood or something and make it look nice. So it looks nice in your room or in your closet or something, and you cover it with hooks.
But I go on a do-it-yourself line, and you
Right.
tell me about the shoe holders, the plastic.
Yeah.
You can hook it up.
Yes.
Now I can't find a daggone plastic. I always see them now.
You know what my
Yeah.
daughter did? My daughter got chicken wire, like chicken coop wire.
Oh, yeah.
And put it in a frame and then hung her earrings.
Yeah,
on it.
I've seen
And it
that
looks-
too.
It
That's
looks
super
like a
cute.
piece of
But-
artwork on the wall.
But yeah, there are so many different things. There are so many different ideas out there. Maybe you need to get out of the jewelry boxes and you need a bigger space and you need a bigger canvas for your jewelry. So those are just some ideas. Like instead of saying, okay, jewelry goes in a jewelry box. I did the same thing for my daughter. It was a magnet board, and I put some little containers with magnet, to hold the earrings and then I put hooks on it so she can hang her necklaces. So you can make stuff if you're up for making stuff, or you can buy stuff. But that's a perfect example. Is those plastic shoe holders. Those can hold anything you want to. When my girls were little, I put the Barbies in there. So just because it says something on the packaging doesn't mean you have to use it for that, okay? So yeah, go ahead and I'd be curious to know what you come up with, actually. That's actually like, would be a really fun project. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just wondering about this family involvement.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. Okay, let me talk about making it easy, and then we'll talk about that. So like I've said a couple times, it has to be easy. So for example, when we moved into our house 2 houses ago, in my mudroom, there was a closet with a door, like a single door that you open up, and then there was one single curtain rod in there and a shelf. And I sat there going, how in the world am I gonna get my kids to come home from school, open a door, take a hanger down that's probably too high for them to reach, put their coat on it and hang it up? Are they gonna do that? No, they're not gonna do that. And then I put a bin in the bottom to put their shoes in, but there's no place for backpacks, and they're certainly not gonna do that. So whenever you're doing anything, it has to be simple, has to be easy, otherwise it's not gonna get done. Whether it's you or a spouse or kids or people you work with, it has to be simple. So my husband and I tore out that closet and I bought these lockers, these open lockers, no doors, and put them in, one for each of my children, where they had hooks and they had a little compartment on the bottom for the shoes, so they can hang up their coat, they can hang up the backpack. There's no doors, there's no hangers, and it was, and then I had a little bin on top for their like hats and their gloves and their little things. So much more. Did they do it perfectly every time? No, of course not. But so much more easy, more simple for them. Make it simple for you. Make it simple for everybody involved. It has to be easier. It's not going to get done. If you're digging and digging and digging to find your jewelry, you're not going to put it away. If you're opening doors and drawers and trying to find things, it's not going to happen. Put it out where you can see it. Make it open. And that applies to all the stuff. If you want it to be cleaned up, instead of having, there's a lot of great organization things for toys, where they have, hey, you have 50 little boxes and that's where the toys go and keep them organized. What kid is gonna sit there and go, this one goes here, this one goes here, this one? You're gonna be doing it. So get a big toy bin and all the toys go in there and clean up is a lot faster. They will dig to find what they want, but they are, imagine how much easier cleanup is, okay? When you're just dumping it all in the toy bin. Okay, it has to be easy for everybody involved, otherwise it's not gonna happen. Okay, family involvement. So teaching and training people. So I've said that I've trained my kids. I've trained my kids since they were little to get rid of things before things come in, to kind of be a little more choosy. All the McDonald's Happy Meal toys, we don't have to keep them all forever. And but it is a process and it is training. It does not happen overnight, and you have to keep working at it. You have to be consistent. Whether you're training yourself, whether you're training kids, whether you're training a coworker. I mean, you can't really train adults unless they are okay with that. But as far as like kids go, it's just the consistency. Every holiday, every birthday, not every holiday, every Christmas and every birthday, we know we're gonna go through toys. And my son is actually like, yay, we get to go through toys again. I'm like, really? He wasn't like that when he was younger, but now he kind of gets excited about it. So it's a training. It's, first of all, you got to get it down. You have to get a system. You have to get organized. And then you can say to everybody, whether it's labeling things or color coding things and saying, this is where this goes, and this is where it always goes, and this is where we're going to put it. And when it's time to clean up, this is where it goes, this is where we put it. We're training. This is where you hang your keys. But it has to be easy. It has to be simple. It has to make sense. Otherwise, it's not going to get done. Where do you hang your keys? Where do you put your keys when you come in from being outside? Do you have an easy place, or is it way over there in some drawer? I have a hook right in my garage. I just stick my keys there. I can find them every single time. It's amazing. Okay, and it's super easy, and I just sit them there. It's the first thing I do when I get out of the car. I put my keys back, and when I go to get in the car, they're always there. Same with family. Same with people. If you have the opportunity to determine how things are organized, get it organized, and it will take a while to get people in the habit, but it is so worth it. And it won't always stay clean. We live, we do stuff, but it will make cleanup so much easier when everything has a place. Does that make sense? And like I've said this whole time, you can't force people. Sometimes you have to wait until they're ready. But if you are in charge of that person, then you can have a little more power there and saying it happens. So, but like, you know, like other adults, parents, things like that, a lot of times you just have to wait till they're ready. The one client I had, the wife and the husband, she wanted me to organize her husband, and I said, so I came over and I organized her a few times, I helped her get organized a few times, and then her husband, you know, it was time for us to talk. And he was really, you know, I don't want to do this. And they had this huge garage. It was for all their toys, their boats, their jet skis, their four-wheelers. And I said to him, I sat down with him and I said, what is your dream garage? What would your dream garage look like? He's like, what? He was really surprised I was asking him this. Instead of, get rid of everything your wife told me to tell you. So I said, what's your dream garage? And he laid it out for me and I said, okay, we're gonna give you your dream garage. And by the end, he was getting rid of all this stuff his wife had nagged him about for years. It was in the driveway, ready to get out. He had like 3 motors to his boat. And she had hated them, but I'm sure he was just keeping them because she kept telling him not to get rid of them. But he was willingly, because it didn't fit into his dream garage. So we give people they get to decide, what are your favorites? I'm not gonna come in my kids' bedrooms and say, get rid of everything. I'm gonna say, what are your absolute favorites? Which ones you love the most? Which ones you really wanna keep and treasure? And they get to choose, and then the rest of them, they realize, oh, I don't really need those. Those aren't my favorites. Okay, does that make sense? Any other, I think we are out of time unless somebody has one really quick. Yes?
I know you said about doing the mail daily. Is there any other thing that you said do daily?
I pick up at the end of the day. So because I have kids and I'm okay with them making messes, they've got books out, they've got toys out, each day they play. At the end of the day, I like to wake up to a clean house. So we just do a 5-minute, okay everybody, let's clean up. But since there's a place for everything and it's easy to put it away, it doesn't take very long and I don't have crying, screaming children. Or I do it before dinner or something, you know, while I'm making dinner, hey guys, clean up. And because I've trained them, they just do it, not always, but they do it. And because there's a place, they know exactly where the books go and it's easy to put them away. They know exactly where the toys go, it's easy to put them away. However, I must say, I have a playroom in my basement that I clean once a week. So I let them have that where I'm like, I don't care if it's messy. But my main living area, I will say to them, okay, let's clean up each day. So those are things that are habits, those are things that take discipline on your part and you have to be consistent with them. All right, I'm gonna end. Here's my situation. I'm happy, I love to teach classes. I'm happy to teach a class if you want me to come teach a class for you. I'm also happy to, I have business cards. If you'd like a business card, I'm happy to come and come to your space and help you get organized. Normally, I know you're all wondering how much does she charge? Okay, normally I charge $50 an hour, but because you came tonight, I will give you one space for $30 an hour. Okay, and that's on the back of the business card if you want it. I'd be happy to, and if it's for someone else, that's fine too. I'm happy to do that. So that is what I'll do, or I can just come and I've even just done a free consultation. I will come and see your space and give you ideas for free. I won't do it for you, but I will come and give you ideas for free. That's not a problem. But sometimes we just kind of say, oh, what do I need to do with this? So any other questions, any other concerns? Thank you, you've been wonderful, it's been great to be here, and thank you.